All right, everybody, quit crying and whining. Yes, she's back. Everybody's like, "Are you going to have her back on? Are you going to have her back on?" Yes.
That's awesome.
I don't like you for a few reasons. Okay, first of all, you lift more with the tire going uphill than I did, so I feel bad about that. Now this is supposed to be my show, and everybody likes me. Now they like you better than they like me now. So it's ridiculous. Getting fed up. I don't know why I had you back on. Ridiculous. All right.
That's awesome.
So
I'll try harder to be not so likable.
Yeah, perfect. Can you do that for me, please? Yeah. It's all about me.
I've gotten that request many times before.
Is that? Oh yeah. Oh, you're showing off now. All right. So there. Oh yeah. Here we go. See, here's one of these guys here. Now this is a real quality guy. He served our country. Barry. He's one of the guys. Like, please have her back on.
Awesome. Hi, Barry. Yeah, he wrote me this morning. Be like, so are you on today? What time? I'll be there.
Did I tell you a story about Barry, how we met? Did I tell you that story?
I'm not sure. I sometimes have a really, really bad memory. A few too many concussions.
There you go. So Barry served in the military and is a big sports fan. He lives up in Cooperstown, New York, where the Hall of Fame is, Baseball Hall of Fame. And he wanted to send me something to autograph. This is 2 or 3 years ago. And a lot of people sent me stuff, so I signed it, sent it back to him, and it really meant a lot to him. In fact, his wife was telling me how emotional he was when he got it. And he sent me the patch off his uniform. He was a military police. He'd worn this patch for, I think, 20 years or something. He sent it to me. And it was really like pretty special knowing how much it meant to him that he sent me. So we've been buddies ever since. He follows all the shows. Good guy. He actually built a rink up in his attic in his home. It's not a real hockey rink, but it's like he's a good guy. Great guy.
Cool.
All right. So I'm going to have a little bit of fun at your expense now. By all reports, you were doing a workout. Was it this morning you're working out?
Well, every morning, but it was yesterday morning, I think, that this what your story.
Our little friend here was trying to do some box jumps on the stairs and missed the stairs and fell down. Did a little tumble.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot to work with out here when it comes to, well, you have to get creative. Let's just put it that way. There's always things to work with. And I was doing box jumps onto this concrete area and took a little tumble and smoked the shin on the edge of the concrete. And then because I was on kind of a corner, I then stumbled off the corner and did this epic, glorious, let's refer to it as a glorious somersaults down onto the grass. We
like the word glorious.
With the coming up, like, oh, we all know it. We're radiating down, and then I don't have to really look around to worry about anybody having seen me, especially because I'm out working out while it's still dark out in the morning. But yeah, kind of did that whole look around still, being like, oh man, I hope nobody saw that. But also kind of hoping somebody did because it was so glorious.
Yeah, that is funny how, and I'm definitely like that. I was, it was this past winter. I get up early, obviously, and I come home and there's a bunch of older people, it's icy outside during the winter. And so it's no big deal. I go out and I scrape off their cars. It takes me about 15 minutes. And this really nice older lady's walking her dog and she says, Tom, you need to be careful of the ice over there. And of course, my male ego, I'm like, I don't need to be careful of the ice. I can walk over the ice. And I was going down face first, had to put my arm down to catch myself. First thing I did was hop up real quick to make sure nobody saw me, right? I didn't care about how I was hurt or not. The same thing as you. Don't care about your shin.
Yeah. I've done some pretty good tumbles. There was one just this June. We had a camp out. The 3 returning campers for this PTSD camp. One's a sheriff, one's an RCMP officer, and one's a firefighter. And we were going up to summit this mountain that we always do. And we were on snow still, but we were on this snow that had this slope to the side and off the mountain. And I'm running around taking photos and running back and forth between everybody, and everybody else is just going up, which is pretty, just kicking in the snow. You're pretty good to go. But when you're running up and down and back down and it's 40 degrees Celsius out, so super, super hot, like crazy heat wave, set records that day. I slipped and slid down the snow, and I launched off where this rock was, and the whole crew thought that I had just gone off the mountain. And I went and launched off and landed in these rocks down like 12 feet in this like little crevasse kind of thing. But I kind of like did this embankment because I had all my cameras on. They kind of caught the snow and kept me on the snow as I like sent down. And was sitting down there being like, whoo, like those guys are probably laughing, but also probably think I'm dead now. and sat there like trying to regain myself. I was totally okay. Had a couple scrapes and bruises, but it was that like, holy fuck, excuse my language.
That's right.
Just like went down a mountain, and these guys are already dealing with all this stuff. They probably now are thinking that this person is dead. Yeah, it was a good one though.
I was like in the gym. I'm really, I don't know what it is. When I walk in the gym, I just get totally cocky, joking around with guys, and everything. There's one gym I was at. This is probably 7 or 8 years ago. A bunch of business guys go in there, so they're not really in fantastic shape, but to their credit, they're in the gym working out. So of course I have to make fun of them. Like if they put 100 pounds on, I make fun. So they should have 200 pounds on, and we all know that we're joking about it. And fine. So one day I was leaving the gym. It was one of those kind of rainy, sleety days, and there's like 8 steps, cement steps leaving the gym. So, of course, Mr. Cocky Tom just walks out, doesn't pay attention. They haven't salted the stairs or anything like that. I hit the top step, and I just fly off on my back, land out in the parking lot. And it's one of those things, too, just like, you fall at first, you're like, oh, God, it's like everything's tightened up, your back's bad. So now all these business guys that I make fun of all the time are now coming in. And here I am lying in the parking lot, snowing wet, moaning and groaning. And the worst part was that they were really nice to me, like, Tom, you okay? And I'm like, get away from me, I'm fine, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm also known to be super, super clumsy. So
really?
There's that too. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's really surprising. Like I'm super sure-footed from being a climber and having to have that bit of confidence because you're outdoors all the time. And I'm pretty good. Like any crazy expedition where I've been solo, like really, really remote, I've never had any sort of any injury. Like I don't usually have a knife that I'm out using at all. Like I'll be sure to have stuff pre-cut so that I don't even have to worry about that. Obviously, I have a knife on me, like my PFD even has knives for safety kind of thing. But anything where I'm up remote Alaska or wherever, where if you cut yourself, basically a cut can have you pressing an SOS button. I'm pretty good about that, but I'm clumsy in terms of I'll trip over my feet and like fall on the grass and like do these like majestic tumbles.
Were you doing all these before you had to leave and leave with the $300 in the tent and all that? Did you do all these expeditions before? Were you doing that stuff?
No, so I was doing. Him and I had a dog sled company, so that was like an adventure in itself. And then I've done camping, and I grew up on that island, so it was always kind of an adventure and always immersed in the outdoors. And I'd done some cool canoe trips. I had done a 2-week whitewater canoe trip out in Quebec, a week canoe trip, Lake of the Woods. I had done a whole bunch of stuff before that. And then the dogs we would take out on adventures. But it was after leaving all of that it really motivated me. And going through being in the tent and kind of shifting that mindset of being diagnosed with PTSD. And not knowing what it was or anything, and then trying to change that definition of me to what I want it to represent. So I always say my PTSD is perseverance, trust, strength, and determination. And I use those words all the time to push me to crazy limits, like the world first, tandem sea kayak, and that Canadian first across America trip. And then those are just the 2 trips that I'm actually known for, but I've done so many other ones that to me actually mean more, like the Alaska one, 50 days, Alaska, Yukon, British Columbia, and 45 days of that was rain and snow and storms. And it was supposed to be like the nicest time of year in summer. And yeah, it ended up being this crazy epic adventure.
So when you're doing an adventure like that, are you doing it more for yourself then? Like to find who you are? This is who I am, not what I was in the past.
No, I would say I'm not really that. I'm pretty bad at not thinking about myself in those kind of terms. So it's usually my motivation is to help another achieve a goal. So that World First was one of my good friends had proposed this idea of taking this tandem sea kayak down the Colorado River and demonstrating the versatility of it, and that this was something that was possible. And I thought this was just an incredible goal, and this person trusted and believed in me. And I, at that point of like, okay, well, if they believe me that I can do this with them and help them achieve this, then I need to believe in myself, and I need to take that opportunity and say yes to it. And so for me, that motivation was to help him achieve his goal, and show this incredible place and document it and show this ability that if you believe in yourself and you guys have, and you have trust in one another and your team, that potentially anything's possible.
Yeah.
And then the Canada one, the Cross America one, that one was, as much as I was invited to replace that team, I know we touched upon this last time, and help somebody else achieve their goal. That one was a lot of seeing this opportunity to connect to all of this land that I didn't know a lot about, all these people, the cultures, the ecosystems that I was going to go through, the variety of wildlife. That was what I really wanted to showcase. And having that ability to not just stand for myself and mental health and that side of things, but having the ability to share and stand for places and people that don't feel they have that voice or that ability. Like that Alaska trip, a big motivation was going through this reserve that Trump wanted to take off the protected list among 18 other national parks and forests and protected areas. And he actually did the week before was when he announced those 19 that he removed from protection, which the only reason people really didn't put up that much of a fuss was because people didn't know anything about those places. Yeah. So why would they?
Yeah. I want to keep touching on that though, but I think Barry's asking a good question here.
Okay.
How physical is dog sledding?
So this is awesome. So I have a buddy named Bradley, and he has done basically all the hardest things you could possibly do on earth. He's summited Denali. He's run the hardest marathon through the Sahara Desert. He swam the English Channel, and then he competed in the Iditarod, the longest and hardest dog sled race on earth. Mm-hmm. And he wrote blogs and articles about each of these feats as he was training for all of them. And dog sledding, he said, by far surpasses any other physical demand, any other, even combining all of them. He's like the hardest thing you'll ever do. Really? For one, you have to be able to communicate with these dogs. So you have to be able to have this relationship with your dog team, which means you have to be up in the morning, going down, feeding them, get into this routine. It's a whole life. You have to revolve around that, around these dogs. And then you are running a lot of the time helping these dogs, especially if you're doing like a tour where you have a couple people in your sled and then yourself, that's a lot of weight. And if there's an uphill, if you're going up mountains, getting off and you're running with the dogs up this mountain, helping them. And sometimes you're walking, pushing to help the dogs. Depending on snowpack, you'd have to help like that. Yeah. And then dogs will get into fights or get tangled. So you'll have to go and break that up, which means that you're having to often by yourself manage 2 50 to 80 pound dogs alone, trying to separate them. You're using every part of your body. You're having to think all the time. It's the most physically demanding thing I've ever done, for sure.
That's interesting that he had done all those things and said that dog sledding was physical. Well, that's cool. People don't think it. And then when you're doing races like the Iditarod, you're sleepless. You're not sleeping for like 10 out or for like 10 days, and you're in minus 50. That's also part of it. It's the middle of winter when you're running. It's the best time for the dogs. The safest time is colder weather. So it's also super cold when you're out doing this activity. So you start like hallucinating if you're doing races and stuff is one thing that he said. But even dogs, the New York Times did a really good article about dog sledding and the dogs themselves. And they compared their blood and the what they found within these dogs compared to Olympic athletes. And these dogs are more in shape and more built to do these things than anything else on this planet. They're the most in shape creatures because of what they're having to do. Yeah, it's crazy, amazing. That is me. So here's one of our followers here around the New York area and some of his physical activities. The elevator was once broken in my building and I climbed 4 flights of steps, stuff for pizza. So Ira's a character. When we do our Thursday show with my old teammates, Ira's involved, not just in that one. But one of the things we have going with Ira is that he doesn't spell very well, and his punctuation is very good. I don't know if he does it on purpose or not. He runs a nonprofit, so we joke around with him quite a bit. So obviously he was incorrect here. I don't know if he tried to or not, but he forgot to put the period at the end after flights. So as per Ira, great job by you. We're going to work on your spelling.
That's awesome. That's
know,
so great, man. I wish I had some pizza out here. on those trips, that's like what you start to fantasize about is like the food and stuff.
So what do you do for food? What do you do for food when you're out there?
Out here right now?
No, when you're out in like a sled race or something.
So that like 50-day trip, for example, 30 days of that was in super remote Alaska, northern Alaska. So I had to have 30 days of food flowing in with me on a bush plane. There was actually three different planes, 3 different types of planes to get all the way out there. It was incredible. But you eat very minimal, and it's oats, so instant oats like Quaker Oats, a couple packages of those with some trail mix. I usually pre-package them, so I'll like open the packages, put them in like a Ziploc bag, put some flaxseed in. Depending on how long and the temperature or the climate that I'm going to be in, I'll put a scoop of coconut oil and peanut butter to get lots of fats in with it. And then that'll be my breakfast every single day. And then lunch, I just snack. So I'll just have like a handful of trail mix and maybe a granola bar of some sort, like Chipool Revolution is actually cricket protein bars. And I've found that cricket protein has been way better for me. All the other protein powders and things like that, I've either had stomach issues or I don't find they quench my hunger as much or as long as cricket protein. So Chipool Revolution is one that, like, they're super delicious bars too, and their powder is really good, but it sustains my hunger and energy a lot better.
So do you lose weight when you're out there?
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of trips, especially if I'm going somewhere cold, I'll put on weight beforehand because I know I'm going to lose weight, and I'd rather lose some fat first and then start to lose the muscle, because you will, otherwise it's just muscle that's going. And depending on what the expedition is, if you're paddling for say 30 days straight, your legs are just shot, like you'll have nothing left in your legs. So you gotta, So I usually do exercises that when I get to camp, I'll do like leg exercises or go for a hike or whatever, just to try to help keep things even and balanced.
Right. It's true. When I was out on Survivor, it's not as severe as yours. I don't want to compare the two. But I lost 27 pounds when I was out there too. And I did the same thing. I packed on about 10, 12 pounds of some serious cookies before I went out there too, to get lots of fat on me.
Yeah. The big thing for me though is like you put on that weight a little bit, you put on some weight beforehand. But I always have to start training. I always start training my body for the diet as well before I go on a trip, because your body, it's such a drastic change often, like to then dehydrated meals for dinner. My stomach always gets issues with it. And that's normal, like for a week on dehydrated meals. That's pretty standard for anybody to start getting a little bit of issues. And then it kind of passes. It's like one day you'll have
you train for that. You start eating those meals before you get out there?
Yeah. I start to shift my diet and start to cut out a lot of, like, I won't eat junk food. I don't drink. Well, I haven't drank in 2.5 years now, but when I was drinking, I would stop drinking. Cut out like a ton of stuff in that sense, so that my body doesn't feel deprived, but also so I'm used to the lack of food. And then I generally only crave like texture while I'm out there. It's not so much food that I'm craving. It's just texture, like, because everything's kind of mushy.
Now, I think we talked about this before. Are you a pretty good cook, like a pretty healthy eater when you're not out there, like right now?
Yeah. I pre-make my meals. So I always have 2 hard-boiled eggs on toast every morning. So I'll like hard-boil eggs one day or every like 2 days a week kind of thing. So they're already ready. And then I'll make some sort of meal on like a Sunday and pre-package it for 5 days. So I already have stuff made, and it's usually like mashed yams, steamed cauliflower, and then some sort of chicken with veggies kind of thing in it. Generally,
have you checked out my cooking show yet on Facebook? You haven't seen it?
I saw the photos, but because I can't, like, out here, I have the ability to do lots of cooking and stuff like that. But I also don't have ability to just go to a grocery store or anything
That's true.
like sufficiently sufficed, as I think they put it. Those cravings. So right now I try not to like go and watch videos and stuff of things that I would love to be eating.
I'm making it harder on you. I'm making it harder on you by cooking meals. Is that right? I like it.
I'm not really one that does get like a ton of cravings, like I said either. But yeah, I don't torture myself.
But, it's funny. I haven't done this in a long time since I really got going in my diet and health and everything. But I used to have this thing like every 3 months, I would crave Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I wouldn't have to go near the store or smell it or anything. It was like automatic, and I'd have to go buy chicken. Now I didn't just buy like a 3-piece meal. I'd have to buy like a 20-piece bucket and eat chicken.
I think that's like a normal human being thing. I think every person, and if they say that they don't crave KFC every like once a year at least, they're liars.
Yeah. And it's terrible. You're going to feel crappy after with all the sugar in it. Sure. Maybe still do it anyways. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. But that's like drinking too. Everybody knows they're going to feel like shit the next day and everybody still does it.
Totally. I'm more sort of pandemic too. So did you have to quit 2.5 years ago, or you just decided you didn't want to drink anymore?
I've never really, I like the taste of beer and wine and stuff like that. Yeah. But like I said, I would always just stop for expeditions, and my order in the town that I live in Squamish, everybody knows me as coming in and just having a coffee and water for the past like 6 years. Everybody just knows that because I would always order that. And then once in a while I'd get like a beer or anything. I make very little money, so I don't want to waste it. So I'd rather not pay $7 for one drink when I could go pay $12 for a 6-pack if I actually wanted to have some drinks.
It's true.
But I also I could be given a coffee and water for free and be just as satisfied to sit there and hang out with my friends and just be in public. Like I don't need to go to anywhere and drink like a lot of people feel they have to because they're being social.
I don't feel like I need to go to a bar. Yeah. There's a terrible joke about the coffee. So the guy goes into the coffee shop, orders, he says to the waitress, how much is the coffee? She says, $2. He says, how much is the refill? She says, that's free. He said, well, I'll take the refill.
Yeah. Awesome.
Terrible joke. Yeah. Bad joke.
Yeah.
Bad joke. What's funny? You talk about drinking. Growing up in Canada on the farm, being a hockey player, like drinking beer was just part of the deal, and so I growing up as a kid, going to college, then playing pro for 11 years, it was drinking beer was, after practice, after games, drinking beer. And then when I retired from playing and got into the agent business, I was getting clients, and then these young kids were calling me after a game, like 11 o'clock at night. And, I'm 6 to 10 beers deep at that point. And I started realizing like, man, I've been drinking beer every day for like the last 15 years or whatever. And it really scared me kind of. I really didn't plan on it. I was just going to just drink on weekends or whatever. I got to the point where I didn't drink for 5 years. And it was weird. The psychology of it wasn't all of it, but part of the psychology was I felt like I'd become known as that guy that was going to have a beer with everybody. And I felt like, are people still going to want to be around me if I don't drink beer? It was weird the way I was thinking. You look back at it. Yeah. Look back at it now. Nobody cared. They were having their beers. They could care less what I was drinking.
Right? Yeah. You might get that like once in a while you get a comment from somebody saying something, but it's just because they don't have that same control. Generally, it's that you can do that. I better make fun of you because I can't kind of thing.
Totally.
Yeah. And then the 2.5 years ago was a big part was because I was starting work with this camp. For one, I didn't need it. 2, I'm living somewhere where it doesn't make sense. And then I would have felt like a hypocrite, promoting that, like not drinking, not using these vices that we have to mask our emotions, like drugs and alcohol, the bad vices. So I figured I may as well not have that in the back of my mind at all. And it's way easier for me to control my weight and how my stomach feels. And so many other things. I don't have that. I don't have to worry about waking up with a hangover and using that as my excuse not to do my morning routine.
Right. Do you feel like since you left how long ago was you left the abusive relationship? Was that how many years? 7 years?
I left in 2015.
2015. So do you think you've got more willpower and discipline now that you've done that you've gone through that?
Oh, probably. Yeah. I definitely learned a lot about my strength and my willpower while I was there. Just to keep sticking through it for one, but then of course leaving it.
Yeah.
But I always view it more as like the sticking by and trying to be there through that, as more of a willpower, even though it wasn't a good one.
Right. I never looked at it that way. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's in my mind. I mean, I was trying to stay to help somebody, with that, like a lot of, I mean, there was manipulation and fear that they would hurt me or themselves or the dogs or whatever. But in my mind, it was always, okay, well, I'm here to try to help somebody, I guess.
Right. So we can start talking about PTSD, and admittedly, I've heard the word and I understand loosely what it is, but you talked a lot about when you're healing from PTSD is getting moving, right? That's the movement. And when you have PTSD, the reverses, you stop moving. Is that accurate to say it that way?
For sure. Yeah. It's just a buildup of energy within us that's trapped, that we're not moving, essentially, that we don't have our tools to release or just get it moving. It's always going to be there, right? Like a memory. We can't just wipe our memory. It's always going to be there. So we got to find ways to manage that, and move that so that we're not either focusing on those memories or, get that energy moving, like ADHD or kind of thing, right? So to be active, be outdoors, journal is a release or a way to move it. Therapy and things like that are great too. You just can't go in with an expectation that somebody is going to heal you, because that's not going to happen. To go and talk to a therapist or talk to somebody is fantastic, because you're talking and you're moving an energy then. It's a source of movement. But it's not the therapist that's healing you. It's you talking and healing you. To me, going and reliving an event, like going to a therapist and sitting down every week and just talking about what I've been through, to me, that doesn't help, because I'm just reliving it. And then I walk out feeling worse.
Yeah.
Why would I want to relive it? Why wouldn't I go and want to talk about all the great things that I actually have in my life, or that I have to look forward to? Sure. That's one thing that I think there's like a mix up with. And some people it's great, some people it works, but I feel like that just I don't promote talking about what you've been through. Let's talk about your goals. Let's talk about what you want to achieve in life. Like, let's talk about like what you had for breakfast. How was it delicious? Like,
I do agree. I mean, there's so many people that get, especially now during this time with the pandemic and everything, people are talking about all the bad things, and they're there. There's no question. Bad things happened in the past relationships, all those things. And I get it, once in a while, but it's like, I want to move forward. I don't want to look in the rearview mirror. I want to be moving forward, right? Okay, what are we doing today? What's the workout we're doing? What meal are we cooking on Sunday? I just feel like you get up more. One thing I noticed, I hope I help people. I think part of your goal is to help people as well. But at the same time, it's also important for you to have somebody like that's there for you too, right? Because you can't just be helping everybody else all the time.
Oh, for sure.
It's not about poor Jill. It's about, you have issues too. So do you use like a therapist? Is that person that helps you, or do you have friends that you talk to?
I don't. A therapist, I went when I was in the tent, when I was homeless, when I contemplated suicide. It terrified me. And I immediately turned and walked my dog. I was on a walk with my dog, and thought about putting a leash around my neck and jumping in this river. And I immediately turned, took my dog back to the tent, tethered her up on her line, and went to a therapist to figure out what was going on, because I'd never experienced anything like that. And I was technically safe. I was away from that relationship. It had been a month, but I was having every emotion coming and going. I was sick. Like I didn't understand. I was completely confused. Went to a therapist, shared what I was going through. And all it was sounds like you have PTSD. You should come back next week. That was all I got. And all I got to do was go sit in a room, share these things, have this person sit there, give me these looks of like judgment and shock. And their photos of their happy photos of their family are sitting on their desk and all around. Like, how is this? This just makes me feel completely judged. This makes me feel like I'm looking around being like, well, you're showing off that you have this amazing life to somebody who feels like they have nothing right now. How is this helping me? And I wasn't even told what PTSD stood for. I'm like, this is the worst experience for me. And then that was this like immediate click of like, I'm going to have to do this on my own. I know I have family here. I know they're always going to be here. I can talk to them, whatever it may be. I have great friends now, but I have to figure out this shit on my own while I'm in this tent out here. And I immediately got back to the tent, grabbed my dog, and just started hiking. I let her off the leash and I just followed her, let her loose, just followed wherever she wanted to go, whatever smell she was following, I just followed. I was crawling through like bushes, all the stuff. And I got back to the tent that night. And it was the first time I had slept in years. And I got up and did the same thing. I let her off her leash and did that. And I realized
how'd you know to do that? Was it just what you thought was going to help you?
No, I was angry because this therapist made me feel so judged and didn't give me any explanations. All I knew of PTSD, that term, those 4 letters, all I knew was that, well, that's affiliated with the police, that's affiliated with the army. I don't know anything more about it. I didn't get anything out of this except for talking to this person who seemed like they didn't give a shit. And in my mind, at the headspace that I was at, maybe they did. So I was more confused than ever. I was more scared than ever. And my immediate instinct was, okay, well, I'm just going to go hang out with my dog right now and just try to, I don't want to just sit in my tent. And all I was doing was running all of these things through my head at the start of that hike. And then when it clicked in the next few days that I wasn't thinking about that anymore as I was following my dog loose. All I was thinking about was, what are we following? I wonder where Roxy's going to go next. I wonder if we're going to see whatever she's chasing. And I was completely fixated on that present moment and what was coming in the future. And when that clicked in just hiking with my dog, then I realized through that, going back to any therapist, screw trying to figure that out through something that is making me feel worse. I'm going to do this like this, my way. I hate saying my way, but with my dog in nature and looking at what had got me, I started to look at how I had managed things when I was like an athlete and it's in my teens. And when I would get hurt and I would get depressed and because I couldn't do the sports I was doing or the activities or art or whatever it may be. And whatever got me through was just going out to my cabin, being out in nature, hiking and pushing through that pain, even if it was hurting to hike, just pushing through it. And I connected that to that moment many years later.
So you did that for yourself, but there's probably, and I say this as a real compliment to you, there's probably not a lot of people that are strong enough to do that for themselves. So, right. They reach out to a therapist. They don't get the help they need. They're like, someone makes it worse, right? Like you were able to take action. I don't think everybody is equipped to take action like that though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't, and I've gotten asked that before and I don't know where that stems from, how I was able to connect that and others don't. I don't know. I think it was just that just so like that mindset of, okay, I got through that real shitty time in my life. This is obviously a way better time. I was able to get through that. I can get through this. I just got to figure it out and navigate it. I wish I had an answer to be like, I don't know. Like, this is why I figured it out and why if everybody else just did this or thought this way, then everybody could heal themselves. But I don't know. It's just, I think that belief in yourself that you can get yourself through. And I just,
well, and I think we both want to be careful the way we say this. We don't want to tell people to not go to therapists or doctors, all that kind of stuff. But I'm the same way. I just I feel like I guess growing up in the environment, I grew up probably in the environment you grew up in, the farm. With my father and grandfather was the same thing. If something went wrong, they had to just figure it out. They couldn't afford to go get somebody else. Like talked before, you couldn't afford. We didn't have a flushing toilet, so it's like there was no extra money to do anything. Let's figure it out. And I just grew up in that environment where I watched them do it, and I just felt like every step along the way, I wanted to play in the National Hockey League. So all I knew was I had to get up every day and go to practice and play. And then when I retired from playing, I got in the agent business. I really didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to make money for my young family and I had to go get it done. And I'm probably the same as you. I didn't think about it too much. You just start doing it. And I really, same thing. Somebody came to me, and I do speak to classes now of kids that want to be agents. And they start asking, I know they're going to ask me a lot of questions about how do you do it. And I don't want to be too simplified too much, but you find a way to get it done your way. Everybody's going to be different in doing it, but
that's it. Therapy works for tons of people. Yeah. Like I said, you connect with the right person. Like for me, I ended up having a really good friend that I could go and talk to, which that's a therapist. That's part of when I was involved in the camp. people would share things with me all the time. And it was just peer-to-peer support, essentially. I had gone through, I had an experience. I'm not some doctor, I don't have a doctorate or anything, but I have lived experience to give my knowledge, which I think is way better, way more beneficial than somebody who's just book smart, who maybe doesn't have any sort of experience with this, who's just going by books and what they say to do. Well, does that really work? If you haven't actually experienced this, why not experience life in these things? And then those people, which is becoming more and more of a thing, peer-to-peer support, which is amazing. And if anybody has the opportunity, I suggest peer-to-peer support first. And if that's still not working, then do therapy, and like go through every tool possible without pills and a doctor giving you a prescription. Go through every other tool, because it's pretty easy, no matter what mindset you're at, to think of a tool, whether it be journaling or going for a walk or anything like that. You don't need to go to a doctor to find that out, or to immediately just be given pills. And then some people, you need medication. Some people have something within their body that is causing issues, schizophrenia or whatever it may be. And so I do believe that for some people is a tool or is a medication for an actual disorder or disease. But trapped energy isn't a disease or a disorder. It's just something that we all freaking have.
Because you think about the therapist that you went to see. Like you said, maybe a very intelligent person, studied the books and everything like that, but obviously had no clue what you were going through. They'd never gone through it themselves. So all those things you talked about, the pictures of the happy family, saying you got PTSD, not explaining it. Obviously, that person had no clue what they understood.
Yeah.
You know, they were able to
again,
diagnose.
Like, I couldn't even say I don't want to pass judgment on that person, because they obviously have a business. They obviously have people that do love sharing with them. But whether it be the headspace that I was at that time, or just not feeling that friend connection, which also could be related to the headspace that I was at, and having an issue with trust with people at that time, there was so much that could have been going on that added into that for me, that it didn't work, that it wasn't what was going to work at that time at all. And nowadays, I mean, technically what I'm doing right here is therapy to me. I'm sharing my story with you. You're my therapist right now. So now I'm in a headspace where I feel okay to
Dr.
share.
Dr. Laidlaw.
Like, now I'm in this headspace where no matter who I'm talking to, whether it's somebody I've never met before or somebody I'm talking to for the very first time, who I don't know what they're going to ask questions of, or who are really, really wanting to know more and more and dive deep and asking really hard questions, I'm totally okay with it at this point. So I can't say that it was that specific person, but it was that specific time in my life for me that it definitely didn't work.
Do you think you have trust issues, particularly with men?
I am the most trusting person, and it's my biggest fault.
Really?
I am. Oh. I will trust everybody wholeheartedly until they break that trust.
Okay.
I don't, and I will respect everybody until they show non-respect. That's how I live my life. Unlike a lot of people who are like, respect is earned. I'm like, well, why don't they have your respect to start with? Yeah, we're all human beings. They don't know you either. Why should they respect you if you're not respecting them then? Like, that's that, like, I don't understand that. Like, everybody just respect everybody. Everybody just trust. And if you do something wrong, then
it's your
like,
loss.
That's every friendship, every relationship, I can't compare that person to a past person. I can't have trust issues because the trust issues is with the past person. Yeah. You're not that person. Like, that's not, but it's also it's also a fault, because I trust very, very wholeheartedly. And I can let people in that I definitely shouldn't, that people will warn about, and I'll go and be like, well, they did that to that person. Yeah. That's not me. And like, let me learn for myself, which is great because it's created the person I am. But yeah, it can be a bit of a dangerous thing too. At times, the fault.
Well, me being the sheepdog, I would say to you, but you're aware though, right? You're aware of who you are and how you are. So
I am, and that isn't like I trust somebody and like a stranger that knocks on the door and I just invite them in. I don't do that. Like, I'm not like that way. I'm just saying, like, in life, like in a friendship or like a relationship, or if somebody like asks me, you go to a coffee shop and somebody asks you on a date, well, hey, that person had the confidence and the courage to ask me to go. Well, we're going to go to a public place. Like, I may as well give them that opportunity. And the worst that's going to happen is either I'm not going to ever talk to them again because maybe they turn out to be a douchebag, or I may end up with a really great friend out of it. Like, never know. May as well give them that because they're showing something. They're showing courage and confidence, which are two amazing things right there.
Yeah, good point. You talk about the respect thing, and I've been very lucky. I've talked about this a few times. I get a lot of Navy SEALs on and do podcasts with them, and almost to a man, they're fantastic guys. And one of the big things I've noticed with them, whether you're at an event with them, and they do it with pretty much everybody, this good buddy of mine, we've got to be good friends, is Kenny Big B Jr., and he's a fantastic guy. And when you introduce him to somebody and start a conversation, he reaches in to shake their hand. It's like he's fully engaged. It isn't just like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and shake your hand. And then he asks, like, how you doing? And they're paying attention to the conversation. They've asked the question. They want to hear the answer. And I really learned a lot, about, and they do it with everybody, right? It doesn't matter if it's a Zamboni driver, the bus driver, or the president of the United States. It's the same thing. It's a person to them, like you said before, and they're going to show them respect. So I admire that. I think that is the way you do it. And when you're showing respect, it's not like it's costing you any money or something like that. If the person, if you find out the person doesn't deserve the respect, then you don't give it to them anymore. You just move on. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. All right. You and I get going on this stuff. We've gone for 40 minutes all the time. We're supposed to cut
I know.
short.
I have to keep an eye on that because I got the solar panel guy, and we're planning to do a couple other things too.
All right. Well, don't trust the solar panel guy too much, okay?
Okay.
I'll
Make sure I have like my cat. Well, I don't have a cattle prog, but I'll make sure I have a glass of water or something. And I wore a special shirt today for you, but also a good friend of mine who's in the mental health field. We got word he passed away today. So I wore a special shirt today that I have to show you.
Sorry for the loss, sir.
Yeah, he passed away. He does mountaineering, and he started a mental health company, education, and all these things. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I met him while he was doing his first presentation ever, and he was so nervous, and I just was like, this person is incredible. And and he passed away trying to working on summiting a mountain last week, and we just all found out, and like super tragic, just super sudden, really young guy, but the things that he did were just incredible, and the connections that he made with people. So so I had to wear this shirt.
It's okay not to be okay. Nice. I like it. That's great. That's an excellent one.
Which was a gift from one of my friends.
Good. That's excellent. Well, and I'm going to, like we talked offline, I'm going to hook you up with Corey Hirsch, who's out there in Vancouver too. Again, Corey Hirsch is a former NHL player. I did not play with him. We got to know each other through the Ranger alumni, and he had his own mental health issues, but he's become a really big mental health advocate now, does a lot of speaking publicly, similar to what you and I are doing. And a great guy. He's funny. I know it's kind of a weird story to tell or not, but with guys that are friends usually don't tell each other they love each other, right? And he's got this thing now. He thinks to himself, what if I was going to die tomorrow? I want to tell. I don't care if it's guys or girls. I'm going to tell everybody I love them because if they're in my life and I love them, I'm going to tell them. So I remember the first time he did it with me, and we know each other, but it's not that close. He goes, "Love you, Tom," and I was like, and we joked about this the other day. I go, "What? What did he say to me?" And so it's kind of funny now. We joke about it. We tell each other we love each other. And at first it's kind of weird. I feel like I've come a long way. Some farm boy from Canada, telling some of the guys I love them. So
right, pretty cool. I've started to do that. So This is really odd, but in our family, we have this weird trait that every generation, there's one of us that is really uncomfortable with like hugging and physical touch, unless it's with our significant other. And I'm one of them. It's like my grandpa, my dad, and me. And since I was a kid, like I just didn't. It's like an uncomfortable, awkward thing for me. But since going through all of this, since like 2015, I've been pushing myself to make sure to hug other people, to allow hugs, and to be comfortable with it, because it's that like we need that, and to do that same thing like your friend Corey, to tell people, your friends, that you love them. Like before I go on any expedition, if I'm not going to be around or anything, like a bunch of really close friends, I always say love you, like at the end of a message, and make a point of doing that for sure. Yeah.
The other one I've learned too is to make sure I say to people, like like I'm really happy you're in my life. Like, and
Yeah.
really mean it. Like it's important that it's that the other person knows that it's just isn't. Listen, I do, Jill. I'm happy you're in my life. I really mean it. It's having the kind of people you want in your life. So good stuff like that.
And it gives me like instant like goosebumps and hair on the back of my neck when somebody says that. Like I do the same thing. I'm like.
Yeah,
always do that. And I always say like, have a beautiful night or have a beautiful day. And people are like, what are you talking about? Like, have a beautiful night? And I'm like, what?
And you use
have a great night. Have a great night. Come on, make it beautiful. Like there's always beauty around.
Yeah. So it's glorious, right? For me, how you doing? Hey, glorious. Glorious. Yes. It's true.
I only use that when referring to my falls.
Glorious Falls, yes, definitely. All right, so I guess this has turned out to be a weekly thing now that we're gonna be stuck with Jill making me look bad by having better falls than me, lifting the tires more than me, people liking her more than me. It's gonna be real. It's gonna be what? It's a test for me. It's gonna make me stronger. It's gonna make me a stronger person. That's what it is. Having you around.
Yeah, okay? We'll figure out something that you're better at than me.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a few things. You're way better at hockey than me. You're better at skating than me.
I know. Have you ever skated? You skate?
Come on, I'm from Winnipeg. We are like,
good point.
And so this is like a little random fact that not a lot of people know about me. My goal in life was to be an NHL photographer.
Oh, really?
So I was a photographer for the Manitoba Moose for a little bit when it was like Corey Schneider and that crew.
Oh,
and when I moved, I left Winnipeg in 2010 and moved to British Columbia. And that was the year we got the Jets back. And I was so angry because I was like, I would have had the opportunity to potentially be doing what I wanted to do, which was NHL, the Jets. And I got out to BC and I went trying to navigate to get in some way, just to even like go and shoot a game for the NHL in some way. And straight to my face, I was told, and email and phone calls, everything, I would never be an NHL photographer because I'm a young female. I like straight up, I was told that. And I was like, fuck you all. Wow. But I also then found a lot of other passions. And I was like, I don't know why. I love that. I would have loved it, but I don't know. Do you still want to do that?
Do you still want to do that?
I would, but I definitely have a lot of other passions for sure than that. Like for sure. I mean, I think for me, where I would want to do photography in that realm of like the NFL, the CFL, I would have loved to do, or NFL and NHL were the two that I would have loved, just because of the action that you can capture, and it's always different. But I more want to like photograph the guys now with their with a story.
Yeah.
With it.
See, that's the one thing. That's one we're definitely next week talking about your photography business. So what we're going to figure out here, we're going to figure out from the marketing end, we're going to make it so that the people that are buying your pictures want to buy them because you took them specifically, because of your story. So we're going to figure that out. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. You don't have a choice. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Just say yes, Tom. Yes, Tom.
Yes, Tom.
That's it. Okay, perfect.
Yes, Tom.
All right. We'll see everybody next week at this same time. Looks like this is going to be a weekly thing. Good to see you, bud. Talk to you later.
Sounds great. Have a great day. Beautiful day.
Glorious day.